Alright, here it is, beginning of a new chapter. You can't really see much, but there's are my frame rail extensions, 1/4 inch steel. Things I'm stepping on, there's 4 of these 9-inch by 48-inch steel plates that are gonna fish plate the frame extensions with. There they are right there. Some 1/2-inch steel for motor mounts, and then just a plate that was on the floor, so I grabbed it. So now what it's time for is to get this axle out of this truck. I already did some pre-work, I guess. I got my handy dandy welded together rims under there and 8-inch block of wood. Nothing's actually propped up yet. I got all the bolts out of the axle. I got the steering, all the bars and everything off. Got all the bolts out. The only bolts that I gotta cut, I can't get these ones out here on this shackle, so I'm gonna have to cut them. There's just 3 of them. There's 1 on the other side and 2 on that side. Then I'll get under the front of the truck, under this bar right here with the forks. I'll lift it up, and then I'll slide some blocking under this in between here. Pull this whole axle out, springs and everything, all in one shot. Yeah, fires are cool. There's one. I'm gonna see if I could just roll this thing out.
Oh, you're getting on one side?
Yeah, just roll it out. Here, I'll just hold it. No, I can pick it up with the forks now. Alright, there we go. Got the angle iron on top of the frame to make sure it sits level. I gotta say, I'm super happy with this metal shop. I told them it was very important to have 10 inches from top to bottom on this, and they got it exactly perfect, 100%. So this just makes it so nice when people do their job right, and all you got to do is basically just put it together. There's the minimal amount of fabrication and grinding and all that crap, so cheers to them. Look down at here, it's pretty darn true. So I'm just going to throw some tack welds on it, then I'll get the other side on, throw some tack welds on it, and then I'll put a brace in the front here to keep it at 34.5 inches. Here it is the next day here, and I got all this stuff welded on and ground down. Nothing too exciting. Got them welded on the inside and the outside. So now the next step is to put my first inner fish plate sleeve on. So you can see the original frame rail is kind of notched out there like that. Right there is where the original front shackle mounted. So now ours is going to mount up here, so moving that axle forward a lot. So now I have to cut my fish plate that shape. I have to take that chunk out of it. So I've already marked it and everything, so that'll fit. That should hopefully fit right in there. I'll probably have to round that, but this piece here will be cut out, and then I'll have to trim a little bit at the end after it's bolted and welded in. So I got the axle all bolted on. I got all the bolts drilled, all the holes. It started raining last night when I was doing this. I was doing it in the dark because I really got to get this truck done, and I just figured I'd do it and catch up with YouTube in a little bit. I gotta get some longer bolts for the steering box. I kind of miscalculated here. No big deal. At least it's on for now. Everything's all bolted up. So on a Peterbilt, this would be up here, or the frame would be cut off right here, and the radiator support goes on the inside right here, and the bumper bolts here. But I'm not going to do that on this truck simply because I kind of want it to be durable. When I build these trucks, I always make it so I can put a tow bar on it, so if something happens I don't have to spend $17,000 million to get it towed. I could just tow it with another truck. Like, I got a tow bar that did fit this truck till I started hacking up the frame, but I want to make it rugged so I can put stuff on the front or whatever in the future, leave the options open. I ended up putting these pieces of angle iron on the top here. So this thing, as of now, it's 3 1/4-inch plates. It's the channel, and then 2 plates, and then the second one goes all the way back almost to the motor mounts. So, and I got these pieces of angle iron on the top to kind of fill in the gap. No, it's not the prettiest thing I've ever done, but this whole deal, it's not so much about making a show truck out of it, as I'd rather have it be very durable and everything. So everything's pretty straight for the most part. It's a little bit off. So now the next thing that I have to do is find out where these rear shackles are going to go. I'm gonna have to, that's why I got the jacks under it. I'm gonna have to, because the truck's up on blocks, so I'm gonna have to jack the axle up and find a place. There's no weight, so this part here is probably gonna be pretty much straight for the most part. That way by the time it settles down, it'll have room to move. And I wish I could go look at a 379, because I could just simply measure from there to there, but I don't really have access to one very easily. So I'll just do it by eye anyway. These are the motor mount bolts here on a 379. I had a 379, but it's been a while since I've had it. I believe this would have been about 6 inches or so in front of the motor mount bolts. So this is even a little bit longer. But it's pretty darn cool when you step back. Now you can really start to see what it looks like here. That long wheelbase. That thing is going to be cool. I'm going to miss that turning radius, I could say that much. But it's cool. It's going to be really cool, and it's going to ride. I know it's going to ride so much better. The wheel before was like literally right there. Actually, just to put it in perspective, this is the front spring hanger, the shackle on the old axle, and we're putting the rear shackle almost where the front one was on the old axle. So just to put it in perspective, we pretty much moved this whole thing forward a whole spring width. I guess I wish I would have measured the wheelbase before and after, but I'm impatient. It doesn't matter anyway, it's irrelevant. But anyway, let's get this axle jacked up and mark our holes and start drilling. So I'm just going off of theory here. I hope it don't bite me in the ass, but I'm going to do this shackle so it's angled a little bit that way. You know, and then I'll measure on the other side the same. So that way by the time it comes down, hopefully it'll be like about that angle by the time the motor's in it and everything. I don't know if I should put it back further or not, but I think I'm just going to roll with it, and whatever happens, happens. I'm gonna have to get more bolts now. Evidently it looks like somewhere along the line somebody put aftermarket shackles on this thing, because I measured for the other side. These are a lot longer, so the bolts don't even come through the frame, but at least they're kind of pinned in place for now. Yesterday when I got these parts, I measured off of this one, and this doesn't have that stupid thing on it, which I guess it's not stupid, it's good, but I'm screwed up now because I gotta get more bolts, and bolts are not cheap for grade 8. There's a lot of money just to get the bolts to get this thing put in, and half of them are the wrong size because of unforeseen things, I guess. But anyway, there's one, pretty much right how I want it. I wanted that at that angle, so I'm gonna go ahead and do the other side exactly the same way, and we'll catch up then. Just happened to catch that. I'm not really sure what it is for all the airplane lovers out there. That's a thing that's cool about living by the base, the Air Force base. I get to see planes all the time, and I love planes. I'll try to catch that thing again. I had to run over to the garage and grab the camera. There we go, we're all bolted in. Like I said before, I just gotta get longer bolts for that because those don't quite make it through, but at least it's stabilized for now and I could still work on it. These bolts here fit through, so this is done. And those of you who aren't too familiar with how trucks work, this is a very good opportunity to take to grease these bushings. A lot of people, they just get under here with a grease gun and shoot grease in there when the truck is sitting on the ground. But all that does is puts the grease on the wrong side of the bushing. When the truck's sitting on this, everything's wearing on the top, on everything. The kingpins, everything's on the top, and the grease just goes on the bottom and it doesn't do anything. So the proper way to grease this kind of stuff is exactly what I have going on here right now. To let the truck sit on blocks or jack it up from the frame and let this axle hang right down. Just let it hang down by all of its weight, and that's a great time to grease these. That's how they should be greased. because that'll definitely prolong the life of bushings in a truck. Obviously, you don't have to do that for the Kingpins. To grease the Kingpins, you should definitely jack it up, and all you need to do is just go under the axle, just jack the axle up. You don't have to jack the frame. But I would always suggest greasing the Kingpins probably more often than the bushings, but I'm not going to get into a whole how often you should do it and blah blah blah, because I'm not an expert on that. So but you know, this was a really good opportunity because everything is loose here and I could just move the wheel. So I put the grease gun on there and I just moved the wheel back and forth and then just loaded the grease right in there to get, because I'm sure all this crap was dry. But the Kingpins actually feel pretty good on it. I'm not really sure as to why they got these tie rod ends loose. I'm gonna deal with that anyway. I'm gonna align the front. I'll try to show a video on how to do that. That's pretty simple, but I'm not going to align anything until I get the motor in, at least. That way everything is going to be sitting how it's going to be sitting when it's driving down the road. If I align it now, there's no weight in it. It'll get it pretty close. But even though you don't think so, when you get the motor in it, everything just kind of bends a little bit, you know, just a hair. And I'm assuming them tie rod ends have something to do with the way this tire's wore out. But this tire here, it's probably just about to the point where it's not legal anymore. This one over here, on the other hand, this thing's like brand new. It's literally like brand new. So I can't complain about that if all I gotta buy is one tire, because the axle that came off of this had 22 5s on it. These are 24 5s, which I'd rather have anyway, because a lot of people that redo trucks put small wheels on them, and I don't like that. I think the big wheels, I mean, yeah, you don't want a 10-foot tall tire, but if I can get a wheel that big under a truck, that'd look cool. I like the looks of big 24 5s, 11, 12R, 24 5s. But everything's pretty well hunky-dory at this point, so I'm gonna go ahead and let this thing off the jacks, pull them blocks out. We're gonna see what it looks like. Alright, all the weight is right on there. Obviously these shackles didn't move much, but I'm sure by the time I get that motor and transmission in this thing, get the hood on, the radiator, you know, all the other crap, the little stuff that needs to go on, I'm sure that's probably going to be somewhere between, you know, I'm talking everything right to the complete truck. Probably going to be somewhere around like 7,000 pounds or so, maybe more. I'm not really sure. I don't have a scale to weigh it on, but I'm sure that motor itself has to weigh at least 4,000, you know, fully dressed. Transmission's another 700, so, you know, and then another 2,000 or 3,000 pounds just for the radiator and hood and all that other crap, fenders, bracing. So there's easy another 7,000 pounds going on this thing. So I'm sure by the time that gets on there, these things will probably be back right about where they're supposed to be. Hopefully not too much, but you know, I think this is a 12,000 pound axle, and I'm not going to bother putting more springs under that, because if this was a 20-ton dump truck, absolutely, I'd probably put another like 3 leafs under that. but we're talking a 5-ton dump box. I mean, I've had 8-ton in the back of it a couple times, but I don't like to dump it. Truck takes it fine, but you know, I'm not gonna go crazy. You know, this is honestly, this is way overkill for a 5-ton dump truck. I mean, a 3406 and all this stuff is way overkill for a 5-ton dump truck, but you know, it's cool. And I mean, a 3406 is the king of the highway as far as I'm concerned. So I got the frame all needle scaled and wiped off with some degreaser stuff all the way back to here. Yeah, a power washer would be the better way to go, but I don't really have access to that right now just because I haven't turned the water on and stuff from the winter. And I'm not gonna go too crazy on this because number one, I'm on a really tight budget with this, and I'm on a really tight schedule, and I really got to get this truck back together because this is the truck that I use for work mostly. And my main thing is I just want to get this bare metal covered up, so I did a good job wiping that down, sprayed etch primer on it, and I'm just going to go over this whole thing. Some black paint down the road sometime. I'll probably paint it up nice and stuff, but right now I just don't have the time or the money to do that, so it's just getting what I can afford. So let's get her painted. There it is, all painted. Half-assed job, but looks pretty darn good, I gotta say. I ran that paint right in there up where the frames meet. I did paint in between with some spray can paint when I put them on, so you know, plus there's tons of oil from the drilling, so I don't think it's ever gonna rot out in my lifetime. This thing has one long wheelbase, man. Looks cool. The next step is to make motor mounts and get the motor in here and just do 10 million little things. I got to get this steering shaft to line up with that. And I was looking at this earlier and I see where the steering shaft would come out on a different application, so that's going to make things pretty easy, I think. We'll get that in another video.